Raider Nation, what's good? Jesse Merrick here. Welcome to another episode of the Silver and Black Sports Network podcast. On today's show, we're taking a deep dive into the Raiders with our guy, JT the Brick. Now, see, in Tuesday's show, we went real Patriots heavy because I wanted you guys to know what to expect out of them and what their plan of attack could be in the opener against the Raiders. So today, it is all about the Raiders. JT and I laid out what you guys should expect to see out of the Silver and Black this season, really as a whole, and what their identity could be. That's been kind of a question mark over the years for this team. And we really dissected the opener against the Pats as well, looking at all the keys of the game and some of the critical matchups you guys got to know heading into that one. Plus, we've also got a new segment for you guys coming up. Yeah, we're calling it Raiders Rounders. Every week, me and my guy Matt Perrault of the Bostonian versus the Book and the Daily Juice will hop on the pod to break down the best Raiders bets heading into the weekend. We'll see if we can make you some money. Who knows? He's one of the best in the biz on the betting scene. So his insight is super valuable to me. We hit on Ashton Genty's debut and even take a look at the opening slate of games around the league, too. It's going to be an exciting weekend. We've got all that and more coming your way. So let's get it rolling and kick things off with our one-on-one with one of the GOATs of Raiders media, JT the Brick. All right, JT, thanks for joining us, man. Let's just dive right into it, okay? Week 1 of the NFL season is officially here. How the heck should Raiders fans feel about diving into 2025 with Pete Carroll, a new quarterback, all that things?
I think Raider fans should be feeling really good, Jesse, and great to see you because there's been a lot of change and good change, I believe. And we were at a lot of practices together. And the team looks really buttoned up, and they got good players. They have star players. They have an excellent head coach. I think the fundamentals of what they're trying to do with this competition Pete thing worked out really good the entire offseason, and now they got to go win games. You know, I've been doing this a while, and every offseason I feel the same way. There's a new regime. There's new ideas. There's new players. There's a new draft. There's free agent players. Let's get after it and start winning games. And the last couple of years, it's been really rough sledding. But I think Raider Nation should be pretty optimistic now because Pete Carroll's in charge of this when it comes to football operations and John Spytek and Tom Brady's influence. So I think the Raiders should be really optimistic about these upcoming games, but they got a gauntlet right out of the gate. Two road games to New England and Washington and coming home to the Chargers before the Bears. And I think it's important to start fast because they had a really good preseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, like you said it, this is something that Raiders fans have been through a lot. There's been a lot of turnover on the coaching staff and everything like that. But this one, as cliche as it is, does feel different. They've made a lot of shrewd moves. So far, it all makes sense on paper. I think one thing that's been lacking for the Raiders probably over the years has been like a true identity. What do you feel the identity of this Raiders team is going to be, both offensively and defensively?
Great question. I think defensively, it's Max Crosby. He's in the beginning or the early parts of the prime of his career. So players have their early careers, which could be great because they're young, they're 22, 23, they got tremendous energy. Then they figure out the sport in their mid-20s to late 20s. And if they keep their body condition like Max does, they could have a prime for 6 or 7 years. Max is in that now. And the Raiders have to take advantage of it. I'm a big baseball fan. I say this about Aaron Judge with the Yankees. Yankees are wasting Judge's career. He's in the absolute prime of his career. He's putting up Lou Gehrig numbers, and they're not winning World Series. Well, the same can be said of Max. Max is now in the prime of his career. It's the job of the organization to put him in a position to win Super Bowls. So I think the defense, I'm concerned about the secondary, which I'm sure we'll get to, the corners. But the identity has got to be based around Max Crosby wreaking havoc on defense the way that J.J. Watt was able to do it, Deacon Jones was able to do it, Lawrence Taylor was able to do it, the greats to ever play the game. On offense, I think they want to be a running team. I think they want to have a Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith-like prospect. He's a prospect in Ashton Genty and capture his greatness for a period of time where he could lead the league in rushing. They could be defined as a running team with great pass principles working off play action. So Genty running the ball heavy and Max causing chaos, that's the identity, two of them.
Yeah, win the game in the trenches. And, I do have to have it as an aside here. As a Red Sox fan, I'm happy to hear you say the Yankees are wasting Judge's prime. I love
They
hearing
are.
that. But
Well, if
anyways,
Kevin Youkilis can win World Series, right, and you could go back to Cowboy up in that team again. They had Big Papi and
yeah.
Pedro, and great players and all. But you get what I'm getting. You
Oh,
need
yeah.
role players to get it done, right? Role players, and Max is not a role player. Max is a superstar, and the
Yeah.
Raiders' role players, which you do a great job at diving into and looking at depth charts. That's what concerns me. Like the
Hmm.
corners are not corners that I think are going to be chasing a Pro Bowl in the next year or two. And I think you need Pro Bowl caliber players to win playoff games in the secondary. But, I talked to Pete Carroll. We had our first interview yesterday, and
Hmm.
he's going with these guys. He feels really good, Jesse, about these guys. You remember when he compared them to what the Legion of Boom in Seattle? That got me to
Yeah.
go, whoa. So he
Hmm.
believes in what he has on the back end. Now we're going to see if they can do it.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to get to on the corner specifically, because that was wild. We all were sitting there when he said that. We're like, wait, did he just say
Yeah.
what we think he said?
Yeah.
And obviously, you look at the history that he's had, of corners and just the secondary play as a whole. Do you think that the Raiders defense has enough pieces going on in the front seven to maybe overcome what looks like probably the biggest question mark on this team is that secondary?
Yeah, I think they have a front four and a rotation maybe of two linebackers. I think Jamal Adams,
Yeah.
who I didn't think much of the last couple of years. I didn't. I got buddies in Seattle who just thought he was just terrible. And
Mm.
then he was injured a lot, and he comes in and he really popped. And that's the type of player that I think could help the Raiders coming out of linebacker. Guy can cover, guy can put his hands on people. But, the front, I like the front. What's going to happen with Tyree Wilson is going to be really interesting. How
Yeah.
often will he be on the field? And as Coach Carroll told me, it's all predicated on the pass rush. If they're able to get it, it's going to help the young secondary tremendously. It's going to help them. And the linebackers, if you look at Pratt, and especially I think the play coming up here, which is going to be really important to see what Devin White can do,
Yeah.
because he's still under 30 and he's got to have a big year. They thought enough of him to bring him in and give him a role where he's going to be counted on a lot. And Landon Roberts, Matt Millen told me on the broadcast in the preseason, that's as hard of a hitter as you'll see in the NFL. There's not many guys that can throw his body around and tackle as good as them. I'm good with Isaiah Palomal. I really like Jeremy Chin. He reminds me of just an old throwback cerebral guy who can line up in the box and cover. But what do you do? Darian Porter's never played an NFL game. Caillou Blue Kelly, I watched him play at Bishop Norman. My son was his
Yeah.
teammate on a state championship team. If you would have told me 2-3 years ago, Jesse, that Caillou is going to be in the NFL starting for the Raiders, I would have said, no, probably not. But to his credit, he really had a great camp and a preseason and deserves this opportunity. Now, if you have Stokes and Caillou or Stokes and Porter, or you're mixing these guys around, you better hope they don't get beat. You better
Yeah.
hope they don't go for the fake, and they're just, I'd rather see them play conservative and a little bit softer on that side than get beat, because they just need the reps and they haven't had them in real football games.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of bend but don't break, especially early
Yeah.
on, in the season as those guys really get their reps. Because again, it's a young group. Even Eric Stokes, I believe he's only 26 years old. He's a guy that they're betting big on as well. So there's going to be a lot of growth, I think, in that secondary, and the growth could be frustrating growth or positive growth as the season goes on. Now, let's jump to the offense real quick. What do you feel the most sure about offensively for the Raiders?
Gino. I'm really a big
Yeah.
believer, and I wasn't when Gino disappeared off the map for a long period of time in his career when he was a
Yeah.
backup and he didn't play. And if you look at the stats of the last three seasons, that would be 2022, 23, and 24, as we go into 25, he's top five. He's not top 15 when it comes to completion percentage, game-winning drives, off pocket throws, a lot of big stats that a lot of people don't study. Gino's in the top five and definitely in the top 10. And I'll ask you, when have you seen Gino on a top 10 quarterback list? When have you seen Gino on a top
Never.
15 quarterback list? So Gino is critical, because after Gino, there's a big drop off. And I think Kenny Pickett can play in an emergency and win you a game. But if Gino has a big year, and Ashton can run the ball and set up play action to Brock and Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers. I love the Amari Cooper coming back, and it impressed me his press conference because he didn't like being in Oakland, in my opinion. He never looked happy, never looked like he was into it. And he's a hell of a player. Amari Cooper is a really good football player. And I'll throw it back to you. What message do you think Pete said to everybody in the organization when he said, we're bringing him in? Not that we don't want to develop our young players. You can do that every day in the building at practice to a young player. But Pete wants to win now, and Amari Cooper on 3rd and 11 can get you 15 yards like Jacoby Myers and Brock. And that proved to me that Pete thinks that Amari Cooper with the rest of these receivers can stay on the field, because you got to stay on the field. You can't. We got the best punter in football, which is nice, but I hope we don't use him as much as the Raider Nation's been using him here. And if Geno can keep drives going on 3rd downs, I think the Raiders staying on the field is going to change everyone's look at this team.
Yeah, no, I would agree 100% with all the points you made. I mean, look, let's have AJ parked on the sideline all game long. That's a massive win for the Raiders. But Geno raises their floor so much, especially given how horrible the quarterback play has been the last couple of years. So now as we shift gears and look at the opener in New England on Sunday, obviously that's going to be great. What do you think is the key to that game for the Raiders to win?
Start fast. They got to start fast. They held everything back in the preseason. It was very vanilla. I'm good with that. I didn't need to see much. We saw a couple of nice plays. We saw Genty truck a Niner. We saw Dante Thornton's catch in Arizona. We saw Brock make an unbelievable catch. So we saw a little bit of everything here, but we know that Chip Kelly has got the ability now to open this thing up big and get Ashton Genty going. And what would concern me is an East Coast early start, a slow start. You're trailing, and you got to get out of your game plan that you want to stick with. So I would think that the Raiders on offense want to run the ball effectively behind Ashton Genty. Get him going. He's the star of this team going forward. It's Ashton Genty. Get him going in that first quarter. Get a couple of easy throws to Brock. You know, I'm not talking about crazy stuff here, right? All Captain Obvious stuff. Get the ball to Brock. Get him his 5 touches early. Get Genty his 10 carries before halftime. Let's see how this thing plays out. And then I was just on with Tom Curran in New England. He's a great Patriot insider, and he respects the Raiders. Jesse, I'll tell you what I told him. The Raiders have better stars than New England. With Genty and Crosby and Geno and Brock, there are better stars on the Raiders. New England doesn't have a lot of stars yet.
Yeah,
but New England's got a philosophy. They got a philosophy under Vrabel on how to get to the ball and how to strip the ball and how to get to the pile. If you saw Alabama and how they weren't ready to play in the first quarter of their game and they were not getting to the football and they were lackadaisical, you won't see that with New England. They will come out with Mike Vrabel on the first drive defensively and look to punch the Raiders in the mouth. They'll bring 4 hats to the ball. They'll push the pile back. They'll try to get the crowd into the game. And the Raiders got to stay calm, let Geno do his thing, couple of easy throws, get Jacoby Myers going on a couple of those 6-yard slants, pick up some first downs, and let the Patriots watch the Raiders get in rhythm.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people maybe don't realize is like that death by 1,000 cuts is totally fine, especially with this Raiders offense. I think Chip is going to be doing a lot of that and letting the ball to guys in space and letting them do their thing. And like as you said, the Raiders have much more star power than the Patriots do right now, and Genty is obviously a massive part of that. You get him going, you wear down a defense, that's going to be a total game changer for the Raiders as the game wears on. We'll actually get a look at the guy for more than 5-7 carries. I don't remember what the high was for him the preseason. Like, I'm excited to see what he does there. In terms of the Patriots offense, we know Josh McDaniels is at the helm, sore subject for a lot of Raiders fans. What are you expecting out of them and Drake May?
Drake May doesn't have the weapons that the Raiders have, but he's tough, and he's a pocket presence. He can make plays outside the pocket, but if he has a clean pocket, what concerns me is his ability to throw over the middle of the field. I think you'll agree with me. The Raiders did not look good in the preseason over the middle of the field. It has been driving me nuts for 5-6 seasons here. The Raiders haven't been able to guard the middle of the field where their linebackers meet up with their safeties. Well, who knows that better than anyone? Josh McDaniels. No one knows that better than Josh McDaniels because he was preaching it while he was here. And he was going at the Raiders and Patrick Graham in practice, and the middle of the field was wide open for Kelsey, Justin Herbert, and the Chargers. So he knows that. So I don't think he's going to look to beat the Raiders down the sidelines on these really 50-50 balls. I think he's going to drag receivers over the middle. He's going to run tight ends over the middle of the field to sit in windows, and we'll see what the Raiders do in that type of coverage, which I'm not very confident in until I see it work. How are the linebackers going to guard the tight ends? The safety's going to guard the tight ends of the Patriots here. I don't believe that Diggs and some of the other receivers, I looked at their depth chart before we came on here. It doesn't scare me, their depth chart. You're not going to see a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase here or someone you got to worry about getting by you all the time. But come on, Jesse, you know this. Josh McDaniels is licking his chops to go after the Raiders' corners. So he's going to try to get the Raiders' corners in single coverage. He's going to run some motion, which he didn't do in Vegas. How he didn't run motion in Vegas blows me. It's crazy. Yeah. But he's probably going to do it here. And they want to run the ball too, just like the Raiders. They want to run the ball. They don't have a really efficient offense just yet. So I think they're going to come out like the Raiders and try to establish the run. And whoever establishes the run early in the first half is going to have a big advantage.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, I get people not liking Josh McDaniels and having issues and all those different things. But when the guy can go and just become an offensive coordinator, I know we saw the proof of that when it was just Brady, and I get it. He's the GOAT, all that stuff. That, like, maybe he made the offense, all those things. But it's very clear, like, he's an offensive mind. I want to see what he does now with this Patriots team when all he has to do is worry about the offense. And like you said, he knows this scheme. The personnel for the Raiders may be different, but he knows Patrick Graham and this scheme well. So it is going to be interesting to see how he attacks him. And it does sound like Stephon Diggs is kind of still coming along, for the Patriots right now, right?
Yeah, I think the McDaniels scenario here is fascinating to me because he was good to me. I don't got bad things to say about him as a person. I never have. All the coaches I've worked with were all great to work with, but he didn't click with the team. And he was hardcore aggressive, and the players didn't want to hear that. And it's a different message now from Pete Carroll. But, Belichick, McDaniels, and Brady work together. I take a lot of phone calls over my career out of Boston. And even to this day, people say, well, if it wasn't for Brady, there'd be no McDaniels or Belichick. That's garbage. A lot of Brady's success had to do with Belichick, drafting him, believing in him, putting him in the game, not taking him out when Bledsoe was ready, letting him go back in, and then giving him Josh McDaniels for 6 Super Bowls so those two can go in the lab. And probably 90% of the Brady plays that were called from Josh McDaniels that worked. So they're all very successful in that scheme. But it was Brady. Now, can Josh McDaniels do that with Drake May? Well, we know ahead of time he's not going to turn him into Brady. He's not going to be Brady. But can he turn him into a player in the next 2 to 3 years who's a Pro Bowler, who's a really good player in this league, and is elevated so the Patriots now have a cornerstone quarterback that's going to be a 10-year quarterback that's going to do the same thing Geno's trying to do, put the Raiders in positions to win Super Bowls to do that with the Patriots. So Josh McDaniels now gets another reset in his career in an organization that he's comfortable with. And he's getting paid from the Raiders a lot of money still owed to Josh McDaniels. He probably wants to send a message to Raider Nation. And I think the Raiders will counter it with Patrick Graham and Pete Carroll and beat them because they got to win this game. This is an important win. I'm not a must-win guy, Jesse. I'm never a must-win until we get to week 7 or 8. And I'm like, okay, listen, if you don't win this one, it's not looking good. This feels really important because of the Jaden Daniels game in week 3, the Chargers home opener for the Raiders. That's always a classic game. Getting out of the gate 1-0 will do wonders for this team and organization if the Raiders can pull it off.
No, I agree 100%. Like you said, I don't like to put too much stock in the you have to win this game, must win, all those things. But just given how everything's been moving and the good vibes around this team and everything like that, it would be really such a launching point for them to start 1-0 and have that proof of like, hey, here's the proof of concept of everything Pete has said. And to go in and look, again, we don't know exactly what the Patriots are going to be, but we know they're going to be a hard-nosed, tough team to play against just because Mike Vrabel is a good coach leading the charge there. Now, you kind of touched on it. You said you think they're going to win. I'm curious why you think they win. Ultimately, what is the difference in this game on Sunday in New England?
I think the difference in the game will be time of possession. If they win the game, this has got to be a classic Raider game where they change the culture, the team wins, and we look at time of possession. I can't predict turnovers, neither can you. You don't know if a dip ball is going to happen or there's going to be a fumble, but the Raiders have the ability now to change something which they've been awful at, time of possession. We mentioned A.J. Cole and punting and 3 and out and 3 and out. Jimmy Garoppolo, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. It's got to stop. The 3 and outs have got to stop. And I think what's going to be critical, not only in this game, but this season, can Ashton Genty pick up first downs on second down? So follow me here, 2nd and 6. You might want to throw it. You got Brock Bowers. You're 2nd and 6. You hand the ball off to Ashton Genty and he gets you 11 yards and you got a first down. Now you can throw on first down or run it again. Take Ashton out, bring in Raheem Mostert. Do something and really get good because you have the clock, you have time of possession. I can't tell you how many times in Vegas since Allegiant Stadium opened, it's first down, second down, and boom, we're at third down again. Raiders just gave up a 6-minute drive. It's third down. If they don't execute, they're punting again. And they didn't execute. It's an incomplete pass. They're throwing short of the chains. It's a short pass, and the Raiders are punting again. I don't want to see any more checkdowns. I don't want to see 3rd and 6 where we're throwing it to 2-3 yards unless it's Brock or Ashton. I want to see first downs. And if that time of possession goes the way I think it's going to go, and how about New England, week 1, then I think the Max Crosby defense will be rested. They'll play better. I know from talking to Max off the record, he wants to put on a show in this game. And if all that happens, I think the Raiders can get a win. And if they don't win the game and they play well, tip your cap to the Patriots, but then all of a sudden that home opener is looming and the Raiders got to win that game. So I think this year, the Raiders last year, Jesse, were 2-1 going into the Carolina game. Okay, follow me. 2-1. Okay, if they beat Carolina, they're 3-1. They're 3-1, and that'll get them to 4-4. I don't think you see Antonio Pierce getting fired. There's definitely not a 10-game losing streak. We don't have Pete Carroll. We don't have Spy Tech. You probably have a 7-9 season. The fact that the Raiders lost to Andy Dalton and went to 2-2, that started 10 losses in a row. That won't happen under Pete Carroll. No. This team's not capable of losing at that level. But Pete has got to get the team off and running quickly and get a win. And this is a 4-win team. The Raiders are a 4-win team. They're a 4-win team. I think the Raiders did more in the offseason, but New England concerns me because of Vrabel. And I know they're going to come out of that locker room with the old Patriot culture. Gerard Mayo was a part of that too. It didn't work. Vrabel's next level.
No, I agree 100%. And as you said, man, it's pretty simple. You draft Ashton Genty, so you want to be able to run the ball, hold on to the ball, and then win in the trenches on defense. I think that is going to be the identity for the Raiders going forward. Now, JT, just go ahead.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And the fact that the team's healthy. I mean, Lonnie Johnson is lost for a while, but overall, I'll ask you. I mean, the health of this team is really important. Look at the Niners. Look at some of the teams around the league that lost really good players. The Raiders are coming into this, knock wood, pretty healthy, where I think Dante Thornton, Jack Besh, Trey Tucker, Amari Cooper, Ashton Genty, all these guys are fresh. They were shut down in the preseason. They practice hard. And Chip can give them everything. Chip can unload this offense and this game plan. And I'm interested to see what Chip held back. I'm interested to see.
We're going to see a lot now.
It could be just a basic hardcore running game behind Jackson Powers-Johnson and DJ Glaze where we're like, wow, this is working. Now I get why they moved Jackson Powers-Johnson to guard, or they're running behind Colt Miller, or play action looks good. But mark my word, they better throw it deep. I want to see a long ball in the first half and the second half. The Raiders now have to start sending a message to other teams that we're here to go deep. And with Trey and Dante, they can do that. And that's a nice wrinkle to the team.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point to bring up. I don't, we talked about the stats that a lot of people maybe don't necessarily look into. I think people forget how good of a deep ball passer Geno is. I believe Pro Football Focus has him ranked as their most accurate deep ball passer since he started starting again when he was in Seattle. So don't sleep on Geno in the deep ball and the horses that they have in the stable in order to do that. Now, JT, full disclosure, we're taping this on Wednesday morning. This is going to drop on Thursday. I'm curious for you as we get you out of here. What do you got going on Thursday and Friday that people should look out for?
Yeah, I've got a lot going on, man. I'm really excited. So I got a new podcast that I'm launching as we record on Wednesday night with Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. So I'm going to be doing something with him. That's going to be good, man. He can talk football as good as anyone. If you go to Raiders.com, you'll see my interview with Pete Carroll. It's the first one I've done in the pod studio with him. We'll do that weekly, and I thought he was really good. And then the rest of the week, just gearing up to this Sunday, I'll be with Eric Allen at Raiders headquarters when the Raiders are on the road, hosting the pre- and post-game show with Lincoln Kennedy. And then Raider Nation Radio Monday to Friday from noon to 2, where we'll have a lot of Patriot guests the rest of the week. And I'm doing Mad Dog Sports Radio 8 to 11 p.m. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday night. So my gauntlet started this week. I'm happy we could connect in the morning, which is a good time for me, and looking forward to having you on Raider Nation Radio. And I'm just hoping, I know what you're doing is great. I told you when I saw you on the field, and what you're doing now is you're putting your name and your brand ahead of yourself the way you should. This is what you should be doing at your age with your entrepreneurial skills and building this and doing it with your name and brand. So I'm really happy to be on with you. I wish you tremendous success, and I know you're going to knock it out of the park.
Hey, I appreciate it. Everybody listening knows you're a true pro, so coming from you, that means the world. And you and Q Myers are the two busiest men in showbiz on the Raiders beat. Like, I don't think Raiders fans realize how lucky they are to have you guys on, just the coverage of the team, because you guys do so much, and I think it's awesome. JT, thanks again, man. Always appreciate the time. We'll definitely do it again soon.
Thanks, Jesse. All the best. Appreciate you.
That was great stuff. You guys know that JT always brings it, and I love the way that he breaks down this Raiders team. I don't want to belabor things too much because we really did dive into that matchup there. But to me, this game really does come down to the battle in the trenches, and I know that's so cliche. I hate being that guy, but you got to get Genty going early and often. And on the flip side, Max and company could be the deciding factor and can really make life easy on the guys on the back end. So that's our deep dive on the opener, more so from the Raiders' perspective. Now let's get our debut of Raiders Rounders. That's with the homie Matt Perrault. This segment is so much fun. I'm really excited to dive into this over the weeks. It's our chance to view the Raiders through the betting lens and give you guys the best Raiders plays of the weekend, and also dissect some of the more interesting storylines and games around the league too, because at the end of the day, we're all football fans too. All right, guys, week 1 of the NFL season is officially here. Now I'm stoked to bring in the homie, Matt Perrault. Matt, let's get into it. Let's talk some money. Let's see if we can make people some money now that the NFL season is finally here. We're going to talk specifically Raiders first, then we'll get into more stuff, in terms of the weekend and whatnot. What are some of the bets that are catching your eye for the Raiders this week in week 1 against the Pats?
All right, Jesse, this is going to be fun. Every week we'll talk betting and, as you said, focus on the Raider game and get into some other picks and plays with the NFL. And this is a huge game for both the Raiders and the Patriots. We have first-year head coaches, or first game head coaches coming in. Pete Carroll, obviously, and Mike Vrabel. It's a revenge game for Pete Carroll. He's going back to a place where, and I'm the Bostonian from BVB, and I'm the Patriot fan, so my pick might surprise some people on this, but I look at the Raiders going back with a lot more motivation into this football game, and the fact that you have Geno Smith at quarterback. I like the Raiders here. The number is +3. I like the Raiders to go in there and potentially upset the Patriots. There's so much love for New England. There is so much money that has come in on the Patriots over on their win total. I'm just not there yet. I think Vrabel and Drake May and Josh McDaniels and the new offensive coordinator, I think eventually they're all going to be on the same page. But I just think at a game 1 and coming out of the gate, I just think Pete Carroll is going to have his team ready to go. And I really like Ashton Genty a lot. I like the ability to run the football and keep the ball away from Drake May. I think it's going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game than what the number is looking at. But I like the Raiders on the road to shock everybody. In a West Coast team going east, everyone's like, oh no, the body clock. I'm not worried about it. I think Pete's going to have the guys ready to go. And I really think the running game is going to be a big difference. I'm not high on this Patriot defense at the moment. I got to see a lot more out of it before I believe in it. Give me the 3 points. 2.5, it's a little dangerous, shop around, but Raiders +3. I like them.
Yeah, hey, look, and this is a guy that is a Pats fan, so, like, he knows the team well. He's not just some random schmuck out here saying this. Like, he follows the team, and he's one of those true fans that's diehard. So, like, I know it probably hurts you a bit to say that, you know? So take it for what it's worth there, guys.
Yeah, I'm high on my team. I long term, I'm high on the Patriots. I don't know if they win 10 games, but I feel very concerned about the idea that the Patriots are going to steamroll here, and everyone's like, this is easy. You know, Raiders are an automatic W. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a different Raider team. And I think even defensively, I think the Raiders are going to be different than they were, you know, and we obviously have the Patriots and the Raiders history with the ridiculousness that happened a couple of years ago at Allegiant Stadium with the backward pass that turned into a touchdown for the Raiders.
Ridiculous.
So there is some history here between these two teams, but I just think Vrabel is going to have a bit more of a rocky start than people think, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that happen. And like you said, these are two teams that are dealing with a whole lot of newness. So, like, really, week one, anything can happen. Having said that, you know, week one is always crazy because of the fact that, like, nobody really knows what to expect, whether there's new coaches or not. What are you expecting offensively, you know, from both of these teams? Do you think we're going to see a crazy total? Like, numbers-wise, what are you feeling about the total here?
I think 43.5, 43 is pretty low. I just, given where we're going to see these offenses, and like you mentioned, the newness could lead to mistakes. So turnovers, interceptions, fumbles. I mean, there's two rookies starting in this game. They're going to carry the rock a ton. Trayvon Henderson for the Patriots and Ashton Genty for the Raiders. You could see early jitters. You could see fumbles from these guys. You could see mistakes from these guys just because it's game one of their NFL careers, and both are being asked to do a lot early in their careers with their new teams. I mean, look, Drake May's running a new offense. This is different, and everyone's so high on Efton Chisholm, who is this undrafted free agent who looks like Wes Welker, who looks like Julian Edelman, who is the next 5'0" white wide receiver that the Patriots are going to have. Okay, but it's game one for him, too. He went undrafted for a reason. I mean, Julian Edelman wasn't impactful right away. So, like, all of a sudden we're going, this is incredible. And I know Stephon Diggs is supposed to play. He hasn't played in forever. Like, this is, you can't just bank on him as, like, the Patriot weapon. Oh, my gosh, him and Drake May are going to be in this, you know, on the same page right away. So there's just too much newness for me to lay points with the Patriots. And I feel more comfortable with the Raiders catching a field goal. And look, maybe it's a push. Maybe Patriots win by 3. But I like the points. And I do think this is going to be a bit more of a higher scoring game just because of the mistakes in the short fields that might come from them.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think it is interesting because, like, look, these are two coaches that love to run the football. Like, they're going to run it. I think, you know, we'll see what happens passing attack wise for both of these teams, really. But with the Raiders in particular, you know, don't have that, like, number one receiver. So like you said, they're going to be running the ball a ton. What's your take on Ashton Genty? Because, like, we were talking about the numbers on this one, you know, roughly what, minus 115, 110 for an anytime touchdown. Like, that to me seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's a bet. I mean, it's the number one bet on the board for a reason. It's a bet you should make. I mean, in the red zone, I'm on 2 bets with Ashton Genty, for one for season long and one for this game. Anytime touchdown, minus 115. He's going to be given the rock inside the 10-yard line. They're not going to look to pass all that often, in my mind, because of what Genty's ability to break tackles. He is such a hard guy to bring down. And we're going to see that early when he's got full gas in the tank and no, you know, bumps, bruises, or injuries. He's just going to run through arm tackles. So I don't like the Patriots tackling all that much. I hope Vrabel will focus on that and really improve the defense in years to come. I don't love the defense for the Patriots. So I like Ashton Genty anytime touchdown at minus 115. I also like him to go over 7.5 rushing touchdowns for the season as well, because he's going to be the bell cow for this offense in the red zone. And I mean, he if he doesn't have double-digit rushing touchdowns this year, I would be very surprised, just given what Pete Carroll and this offense is building.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, he's the favorite to be rookie of the year. Like, I think the numbers, that's crazy. I think he goes over that as well in terms of rushing touchdowns. And also, like, look in the backfield. I happen to like Raheem Mostert, but I think he's actually the number 3 running back. And then you got Zamir White, you know, and obviously he's a bit of a bruiser, but Genty's going to be that guy. And it was really funny earlier in the offseason, Pete said, you know, he wants to do running back by committee and all this stuff. And it's like, well, then why the hell did you draft a guy as high as you did? And why'd you draft Ashton Genty? Like, I don't think that's the case. It is going to be Genty early, often, and 50 times on Sunday if you have to.
Yeah, I agree. And as long as he stays healthy, I mean, obviously, banking on running backs is always dangerous because of the injury component, but rookies tend to, and guys like him, he didn't have many injury problems in college. He's good for a year or two, you would think, before he has any real injury concerns.
No, definitely. And then on the flip side, obviously, Travion Henderson, he's another exciting guy, done some good things in the preseason. I was talking to a Patriots beat reporter, Taylor Kyles, recently, and he was saying he thinks that he's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. You throw in his rushing chops with the passing attack, and the fact that, look, over the years, the Raiders defense hasn't tackled the greatest. We saw it, early on in the preseason in the Seahawks game. They cleaned it up a bit as the, preseason did go on. I'm curious to see what that's going to look like, especially against the Mike Vrabel team. What do you think about him in the day that he could possibly have?
Yeah, I think in the screen game and in the red zone, I think you're going to see Henderson be a primary focus for this offense. In particular, if Max Crosby is getting off against this patchwork quilt of an offensive line for the Patriots, they still haven't. I mean, I know they drafted Will Campbell out of LSU to be the left tackle, and they expect him to be, the staple there for the next 10 years. But this will be his first game, too, in the NFL. And facing Max Crosby is no easy task, a guy who obviously can beat all pro level left tackles. Yeah. So if that's a problem and the Raiders are getting up the field against Drake May, that's where Henderson comes in with the screen game, and he was electric in the preseason. So I do think they're going to look to get the football to him in the red zone, and he could bust one even farther from outside the red zone on the screen game. So Henderson's the next option. He's 4-1 to score an anytime touchdown. I like that bet as well from a Patriot perspective, because if they're going to score in the red zone, my gut tells me it's Henderson that gets the primary look.
Yeah. Now, before we get to the weekend, I just want to dive into this because obviously week one, the Raiders as a whole, a lot of people are curious what to expect out of them. Like, what do you think win total wise we're going to see from these guys? What's your take?
I've been on the Raiders over 6.5 wins for the last 3 seasons. I have hit this the last 3 years. I have not bet it this year because I really don't know. I don't know what Geno looks like. You mentioned the lack of a number one. They really don't have one. I hope that Brock Bowers continues to become the guy, and I hope he becomes, one of, if not the elite receiving tight ends in the NFL. But it's year 2, and let's see what he looks like, and let's see what year 1 to year 2, when no one saw him coming. Now they're going to be well aware of him and preparing for him, and he's going to have to face some really tough opponents. The division is brutal. I mean, the Raiders could go 0-6 in the division and still have a really good season just because of how tough it is to play the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. So for that reason, I'm just going to stay off of it and not play the 7.5 wins, but it won't stun me if they go over. I mean, I think that's really possible if they wind up going over their win total for a 4th consecutive year. And I like Pete Carroll, and you cover the team. He's not slowing down anytime soon. He might be in his 70s, but he doesn't look like it. I mean, no. Carroll versus Belichick. I mean, Bill looks like he's half in the ground, and Carroll's jumping around and jumping on linemen and having a good old time. So I like the Raiders under Pete Carroll. I can't bring myself to bet the over yet.
Yeah, you don't think Belichick's girlfriend's keeping him young? Come on, man.
I don't know. He's doing press conferences under balloon displays.
Yeah, that was wild.
So I have no idea what Belichick is doing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right, now let's get to the weekend. Obviously, they kick things off. Very interesting opener for the NFL season. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles tonight, Thursday Night Football. Man, that's one where I think you're going to ruffle a little bit of feathers here, huh?
Look, I'm a Patriot guy, okay? Don't call me a Cowboy fan when I say this. I think the Cowboys win the division. It's 7-1. Everyone says the Micah Parsons trade is disastrous, and I go, I'm a Red Sox fan. Everyone said the Red Sox were dead when they traded Rafael Devers. How could you trade that guy? How could you give up on him? What a disgusting, awful trade to make. And the Red Sox, all they did was take off, and now we're occupying a wild card spot and or winning the division because of it. I'm not saying Micah Parsons was a gigantic cancer the way Devers apparently was for the Red Sox, but Micah Parsons is going to make $47 million, and he needs a pain shot in his back before he plays a single snap for the Packers. That's concerning. You've signed him to a 4-year deal for $47 million per. He's an unbelievable player, but I think it could be a rallying cry for the Dallas Cowboys. And frankly, again, I said this on numerous programs, the injury luck that the Eagles had last year was incredible. They have an offense run by a quarterback that has to run the football to be effective, and a running back who got a bazillion carries all the way to the Super Bowl. And Saquon Barkley got hurt every year with the Giants. The only thing he didn't get injured was the Eagles. Saquon could go back to being the Giants version of Saquon Barkley and be nursing injuries every week, and that offense looks completely different without the rushing attack. Same thing for Jalen Hurts. So obviously betting is about predicting and being a Nostradamus about all this, but I think you're going to see some problems for the Eagles when it comes to injuries. To Thursday night, to tonight, if we're taping this on Tuesday, the number's 9. If we get 10, I'm sorry, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. Like even 9, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. That is too many points in an NFL divisional game to give up. And maybe it's a backdoor cover by the Cowboys, but 9 or 10 points for a Dallas offense that's going to score a ton of points this year. Give me the Cowboys at plus 9.5, plus 10, whatever the top number is before kickoff.
Look at Matt coming out of the gate. It's hot. I like it. Now, let's keep it rolling. I mean, obviously, again, the Cowboys hot button topic. This is a Raiders podcast. Let's see if you can piss some people off here. We're going to talk Chiefs and Chargers.
I'm good at that.
On Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, the Chargers are favorite or 3-point dogs. What's your take on that game?
Under. And I think you're going to see a lot of under games here with the Chiefs and the Chargers for that matter. It's at tape, the number is 46. I think this is going to be a boring football game. I'm not expecting much action here. I don't think the Chief offense is going to be that explosive this year. I don't get the idea that Patrick Mahomes is going to throw the football all over everybody. I don't think that's the case. I think the injuries, the suspensions that he's seeing to receivers and company, and I think Travis Kelce's got his mind on complete other things than football. So I'm not expecting much out of the Chiefs this year. I'm with my brethren who are taking the Broncos to win the division. That it's worth the investment to go 3-1 or 4-1 on the Broncos to win the division, and the Chiefs to be a wild card team. I think they make the playoffs, but this idea that the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, I don't see it for a second. I really don't. I think the defense is good, but I don't think the Chiefs are representing the AFC.
Yeah, he says the Chiefs ain't the Chiefs anymore. All right, now if we keep it moving, another interesting debut. We got Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers going up against the Jets. That's kind of a fun one.
It's a fun one, but if you like points, you're not going to see it. Dead under. The Steelers play under games all year, like we know. At the time of taping, the number's 39. This is a number that I would bet as soon as possible. As soon as you're listening to this, I would bet this because I expect a lot of money to come in on this game on game day to the under. It would be a very popular pick for people in the space to recommend betting the under in this game because of what's going to happen with the Jets offense. Justin Fields is not going to throw the football. He's got Garrett Wilson, and that's it. And he's up against a secondary for the Steelers that could be in the conversation for the best in the AFC. So you have TJ Watt signing that gigantic contract. He's going to go try and eat. And then you have Aaron Rodgers throwing to DK Metcalf, which, look, it might work, but Aaron Rodgers worked, and we know as Raider people that Devontae Adams, he is a guy who likes to be in rhythm with his quarterback, and he wants the football in a certain space, in a certain spot, in a certain time. That is not what DK Metcalf does, because Rodgers is the same way. DK is, I'm putting my ears back, and I'm going to run, and you're going to throw the ball as far as you can, and I'm going to go get it. That's not Aaron Rodgers. So that, I think, is going to be a very difficult situation for the offense, for the Steelers. So I don't think they score a lot against that Jets defense. New head coach, defensive-minded guy, obviously coming over from the Lions. We know that Aaron Glenn's going to look to pressure the quarterback and blitz a lot and be really, really aggressive. I think you have two elite defenses against quarterbacks that I'm not 100% on board with. Give me the under 39.
Yeah, interesting, man. And just looking through the weekend, one that just sticks out to me, obviously, just given the Michael Parsons trade and everything like that, we got to talk a little bit of Lions and Packers.
Yep.
That's an interesting game. Obviously, again, needs the shot in the back to get rolling. Does he actually play? All those different things. You would expect he probably does. They want to get him out there, but having not taken part in any training camp practices and all that stuff, especially for a guy that you want for the long term, kind of interesting there. How do you digest that game?
It's so hard to bet the Lions early because of the lack of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. You have two coordinators who are gone, who were the masterminds behind both that defense and offense. And look, Mr. Bite Your Kneecaps is still there. I'll give you that. And I like him. I like Dan a lot. I think he's going to be fine. But we have a lot of questions. I mean, people love to make a bit too much about this whole like baby thing for Jared Goff, that like he's having a child, so he's going to play, he's going to ball out this year, and he's going to have a huge year because of it. I'm not sure I subscribe to that theory, but it's a wait and see. I mean, if I had to bet it, Packers minus 2.5 isn't a horrible play. But the Packers have their own questions. I mean, the Packers have their own conversations to be had. And if Micah Parsons plays, how many snaps is he going to play? 15, 20, if that. So I'm not sure how much of an impact he'll make in the game either. So you can't bet the Packers because of Micah Parsons. And I don't think you can bet the Lions because I don't know what to make of the team without knowing what their coordinators are going to look like.
Yeah, I do want to get to the Monday night game because obviously you talk about, Ben Johnson. But is there anything else from the weekend that really jumps out to you that you're like, ooh, this one's interesting?
Well, look, I think if you're playing in a Survivor contest, everyone and their mom's going to be on Denver. So you got to be a little careful about what's going on in a Survivor contest because Denver most likely wins, but it feels like the Patriots and the Bengals last year where everyone was like, the Bengals can't lose at home to the Patriots. And then the Patriots with Drake May went in, or I guess, with the Patriots went in there with Drake May and they won the game. So I'll be curious. No, it was Brissett. Sorry, it wasn't Drake May. It was Jacoby Brissett. They won that game. I'll be curious to see what happens in that game. I think it's the most logical pick is to take Denver in a Survivor, but I'd be careful with that just because it's Mile High and it's Cam Ward, and maybe he is him. Maybe Cam Ward is the guy that goes there and shocks everybody. But to Monday night, and I think Monday night's going to be one of these games where I think a lot of people are going to be sitting back. I am a big supporter of KOC. I think Kevin O'Connell is a tremendous head coach. I think JJ McCarthy is going to have a really big year. I don't buy the Sam Darnold with Seattle situation that's going to work. I'm not in on that. I know people who think that Seattle's going to be a sleeper team to win that division, and Darnold, and that Sam Darnold will play really well. I'm not one of those. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to have a great year with JJ McCarthy. And I think eventually Ben Johnson and the Bears will be good, but I'm not buying the preseason hype. I think that Viking defense is going to be formidable out of the gate. And look, it's basically a pick. It's a road favorite, -1.5. But I think the Vikings do win that game. It'll be ugly, but I think the Vikings do win that game.
Yeah, I don't think people give Kevin O'Connell enough credit for how good of a coach he is. Again, let's not forget what Darnold was before those years with them. I mean, that's crazy to me. I think that's an interesting experiment in Seattle, but I think every fan base out there that was in the running for Darnold was like, hell no.
Well, the Raider fan, right? I mean, the Raider fan was looking at this going like, who's going to be our quarterback? And Sam Darnold was being tossed around. I think most Raider fans were like, we want nothing to do with Sam Darnold. But I mean, he'll have a chance to prove me wrong. And he, go and play in an offense that's going to want him to throw the football in front of a great fan base, a great home field advantage. Let's see it. I mean, playing in a dome is really good for quarterbacks. I mean, it's really easy to play not in the elements. And now he's going to play in the rain and the cold of Seattle. Let's see it. But I think from a Viking perspective, they think JJ McCarthy is going to be outstanding. And if he is, the Vikings have a chance to go play in San Francisco for it all. I mean, they have a team that's capable with an offense. I mean, the receiving core is ridiculous. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think in general, people forget how good the Vikings as a whole are. And then again, you throw in the good coach, all that stuff. Game changer for sure. Man, Matt, this was fun. I'm looking forward to doing this. Week 1, we even got you to pick against your own Patriots. So that's exciting.
Won't happen much. But I think the Raiders get it done. I think the Raiders could be 1-0 next time we talk.
Awesome. Well, Matt, as we head into the weekend, what should people watch out for you on your end?
On Twitter at Sports Talk Matt, you'll see everything. I do a ton with a show called the Bostonian versus the Book, and also a daily podcast called the Daily Juice from Betting Pros. So if you like this, you can get a lot of that. But at Sports Talk Matt on Twitter is the best place to get me.
Love it, man. You guys are going to be seeing a lot of Matt every week here on Raiders Rounders. Good time. I can't wait till next week, man. All right, Matt's the man. Again, make sure you guys check him out on Twitter at Sports Talk Matt. We're going to have a lot of fun with the Raiders Rounders segment throughout the year. I love talking about the silver and black, but it's always cool to dissect the matchups around the league as well. And Matt's view from a betting perspective really is so interesting to me, and he definitely gets football too, so that definitely helps. With that, guys, it is time to shift gears and look ahead to the weekend. I haven't, officially given my pick yet, but here it is. I think the Raiders get it done. I think they'll be 1-0 after this week. I don't think the Pats' run defense is going to fare too well against Ashton Jeanty and this Raiders offense. That's why you draft the guy so high. You're going to want to run the ball. We know Pete wants to do that. Like I talked about with JT, I think that they'll be able to control the clock and slow down Drake May and company on the other side of things just enough in what should be probably a really close game. You never really know what quite to expect. I think there's a lot of newness, obviously, for the Raiders, too, even though Drake May is in his second year. I just don't think things are going to be firing on all cylinders for that offense. So I think it's good to get them early. I do wonder, though, what the Raiders' run defense will look like. Obviously, tackling has been an issue over the years. There's a ton of new guys on defense, but I'm going to lean on what I saw in the last 2 preseason games because the starters were effective there. And I think that continues. We've also seen them turn the ball over, so definitely got to get a turnover in this game as well. Keep that going. Do what you haven't done in recent years. And like I said, I think the Raiders start out 1-0, which would be massive going into the home opener on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. And speaking of the opener, though, I will be out there in New England. I'm heading out there on Saturday. So next time you see me on the pod, I won't be here in the studio. I'll actually be coming to you from the field over there at Gillette Stadium. We'll be dropping the pod as soon as we can after the game is done and after we're done talking to the guys in the locker room as well. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss it when it drops. You're not going to want to lose the chance to check that one out and be one of the first people to dive into it. And as I always mention, if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, please do head to silverandblacksportsnetwork.com and do subscribe. You can sign up for our free version of the newsletter, which gets you our Friday edition, or for just $6 a month, you'll gain access to all 3 of our newsletters dropping on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 6 a.m. And again, make sure you do like and subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you guys are listening to us, because obviously we are everywhere. That's how we do it here. And if you liked what you heard, hit us with a 5-star review and leave a comment as well. Please, those things mean so much, and they really do help the growth of the podcast. You guys have been great about that so far. We do always appreciate you guys watching and listening. And we will catch you on Sunday in New England, where we'll be talking about a real game. I can't wait. Take it easy, guys.